Everything you've been doing to escape loneliness is failing. The reason? You're making deadly mistakes that keep you invisible, weak, and stuck. Today, you'll learn the 10 fatal mistakes lonely men must avoid. The exact errors that destroy confidence, repel respect, and trap you in isolation. Fix these, and nothing will ever control you again. Mistake number 1. Seeking validation from others. The first and most harmful mistake is looking for approval from others instead of earning respect from yourself. A lot of lonely men become addicted to getting approval by seeking likes, praise, or acceptance merely to feel like they matter. Marcus Aurelius said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but we care more about what they think than what we think." When you need other people to feel good about yourself, you give them authority over your feelings. A single word from them might make you feel better or worse. You need to learn how to build your own value back up. Epictetus remarked, "If you want to get better, be okay with people thinking you're dumb and foolish." This involves letting go of the need to be liked. Validation goes away, but inner conviction stays. When you live by your own rules instead of what others think, loneliness isn't as strong. A man who is always looking for approval loses his ability to think for himself over time. He begins to change how he acts to meet other people's expectations, which changes who he is until he no longer looks like himself. Over time, this need for approval turns into a silent chain that keeps him tied to what other people think. He puts something up and right away looks to see who liked it. He talks not because he believes it, but because he is afraid of what others will think. He dresses, acts, and even thinks in ways that will make people like him. Epictetus said, "If you want to be a writer, write. If you want to be a philosopher, think." He didn't say, "Wait until people like it." He wanted to say, "Do what comes naturally to you, not what they like." This error stems from a misinterpretation of value. A man who wants validation thinks that someone else must give him his value. A Stoic understands that he must earn it himself. Marcus Aurelius said, "It's not that we don't have a lot of time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And nothing wastes life faster than waiting for someone else to let you be yourself. You may use the time you spend making other people happy, learning more about your craft, your body, your mind, and your future. Seneca reportedly remarked, "The person who looks for wisdom is already wise." Also, someone who wants validation already knows that their basis is weak. The more you grow inside, the less you need other people's acceptance. Instead of asking, "Do they like me?" you should question, "Do I respect myself after doing this?" That's the only Stoic issue that really matters. Think about the outstanding people that have lived in the past. The philosophers, the fighters, and the creators. Not everyone liked any of them. People loathed, made fun of, and killed Socrates because of his views, but they changed the world. He lived by the truth, not by what was popular. And that's what Stoic strength is all about. Standing up for what you believe in, even when others don't agree. People start to appreciate you more when you stop looking for validation. Not because you asked for it, but because people like independence. Your language is silence, and your armor is calmness. You become untouchable, not because the world changed, but because you did. Want to be invincible? Epictetus said, "Then don't let something that you can't control bother you." You can't control validation. Get over it. You won't feel lonely anymore when you quit craving acceptance, because the man who values his own opinion over the crowd's no longer wants to be heard. He becomes one. Mistake number 2, confusing escapism with peace. A lot of men think that being busy is the same as being at ease. They think they're relaxing when they binge watch, scroll incessantly, or drown their boredom in wine or pleasure. Seneca, on the other hand, warned against this kind of flight. He wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." You lose touch with your inner self when your mind is always busy. Escapism dulls pain, but it also dulls purpose. The Stoics taught that peace isn't found in running away from things, but in dealing with them, like your thoughts, your problems, and your responsibilities. Don't run away from pain. Face it. Be quiet and sit. Think about it. Read. Diary. Do some exercise. You will have real serenity when you don't need noise to quiet your mind anymore. It's easier than ever to run away from ourselves in the current society. Every app, every notification, and every screen gives you a break from the quiet voice inside that asks, "What are you doing with your life?" That's why so many men think that being busy is the same as being at ease. When the noise is strong enough to drown out their thoughts, they feel tranquil. But as soon as the distraction is away, that old emptiness comes back even stronger. Seneca said that people who are always looking for something to do are tossed about by a great number of pursuits. He realized that being busy might be a sign of cowardice, an inability to face what's actually wrong inside. When you run away from pain, you merely make your mind more afraid of it. You can't find true peace by escaping the storm. You have to learn how to stand in it without shaking. Marcus Aurelius did this every day. He didn't get away from his problems. He thought about them every morning and night. In his meditations, he told himself, "You have control over your mind, not the things that happen to you." If you understand this, you will discover strength. He didn't use distractions to numb himself. He ruled an empire with the calmness of a soldier's heart in the middle of mayhem. Real peace isn't comfort, it's control. Epictetus also said that a person is not free if they are a slave to their wants. Modern escapism is simply that, servitude that looks like relaxation. The rush of dopamine from constant amusement or indulgence makes the brain think it's happy, but happiness based on avoiding things always falls apart. You become less and less powerful in your own life the more you run away. This is especially true for lonely men. They put pleasure in lieu of purpose and consumption in place of connection. But tranquility doesn't come from consuming, it comes from giving. Instead than wasting hours on distractions, set aside time to think. Put your thoughts down on paper. Read some philosophy. Take a walk without your phone. Get your body ready. Put your thinking to the test. Seneca said, "We don't have a short time to live, we waste a lot of it." Every hour you spend running away is an hour you could have spent learning to control yourself. You can't make peace if you keep running away from yourself. You need to learn how to sit quietly for a long time so you can meet the man you're becoming. That's not boredom if you can sit still without checking your phone and be happy with your evening without being distracted. That's being free. You can't find serenity by running away from your problems. You have to learn how to deal with them. And once you know that, nothing will ever be able to dominate you again. Mistake number 3, chasing people who don't value you. One of the worst things lonely men do is chase after people who always put them down. You can't make someone respect you, and every time you ask for it, you lose more of your dignity. Epictetus said, "Love yourself first if you want to be loved." When you're desperate, you constantly push away what you want. The Stoics knew that relationships based on needing each other would fail. You can't make real connections with people who treat you like you're disposable. Marcus Aurelius said, "Stop arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Stop trying to get things and start becoming. Put your energy on growing, not getting acceptance." When you really love yourself, you naturally draw others to you who love you. When a man pursues others who do not appreciate him, he is not seeking love, he is seeking validation. He thinks that if he can get someone else to believe in his worth, he will finally believe in it himself. But this is a deadly lie. Every time you go after people who don't respect you, you make the lie stronger that their attention is what makes you valuable. What you're really doing is giving up your self-respect for a little bit of comfort. Epictetus cautioned against the frailty of attachment, stating, "When an individual is adequately anchored in life, they ought not seek external validation." When you make someone else the source of your serenity, you give up your freedom. You become like a puppet, moved by how they feel, how quiet they are, and how they don't want you. The Stoics would say this is a kind of slavery, but not of the body, of the soul. Seneca also wrote about this form of dependence in his letters. A wise man is happy with himself because he doesn't live for the opinion of others. When you pursue after people who don't care about you, you are live for their opinion. You want to be warm with someone who has already shut the door. The colder their answer, the more you chase them, because deep down, your ego wants to turn rejection into approval. But the Stoics knew this. People don't usually value things that come to them too easily. The more you chase, the less you seem. You can't ask for respect. You have to earn it by being quiet, keeping your distance, and controlling yourself. A man who respects himself doesn't try to keep others around. He makes their absence unimportant. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be tolerant of others, but strict with yourself." This is what he meant. You may forgive others for not appreciating you, but you can't forgive yourself for staying where you're not respected. The Stoics thought that a man should do the right thing, not try to fit in. So if someone doesn't appreciate your loyalty or makes fun of your kindness, you don't go back at them or chase them. You just walk away, knowing that your energy is better spent elsewhere. Keep this in mind. If you hide your worth under desperation, no one will perceive it. Real respect comes from holding back. When you stop chasing after people who don't care about you, they start to notice that you're not there. And more significantly, you start to notice that you're there. Seneca said, "Be friends with people who will help you become a better man." Don't hang out with people that make you feel bad about yourself. Instead, be with people who push you to grow. Don't build your life around getting approval. Build it around meaning. And once you do, something changes. You no longer need people to pick you because you've already picked yourself. That's when real self-assurance starts. When your peace doesn't depend on who remains or who leaves, but on how sure you are of your own worth. Mistake number 4, neglecting the body and the mind. A weak body makes the intellect weak, and a lot of lonely men let both of them go bad. Your confidence and energy go down when you stop working out, eating healthy, or getting enough sleep. The Stoics practiced sophrosine, which means being disciplined in all parts of life, since they knew that a healthy body makes the soul stronger. Epictetus remarked, "Difficulties show what men are." What he meant was simple. Hard times show who you really are. And ignoring your body is a quiet way of giving up. You might assume that not working out, eating junk food, or staying up all night doesn't matter, but your body keeps track. Every hour of sleep you miss, every meal you skip, and every excuse you make to do nothing slowly wears you down. Marcus Aurelius worked on his body like a soldier and his mind like a philosopher. He was an emperor who had to deal with war, betrayal, and politics all the time, but he nevertheless wrote, "You have power over your mind, not over events." Recognize this and you will discover fortitude. But that strength isn't just in your mind, it's also in your body. He understood that a disciplined body makes the mind sharper. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." He warned against persons who were stuck in luxury and idleness. Your spirit gets weak when you give in to laziness or too much comfort. The Stoics thought of the body as a temple, but not for worship. Instead, they thought of it as a place to train. They thought that being strong physically was a sign of being strong morally. You train your mind to last when you work out. When you eat well, you show yourself that you deserve respect. You are getting ready to win tomorrow when you sleep properly. It's not just about being stronger, it's about getting better at everything you do. The Stoics thought of the body and mind as one system instead of two separate things. If you don't take care of your body, your mind gets foggy, reactive, and feeble. But when you take care of your body, your mind becomes clear, your emotions become stable, and your confidence becomes unshakable. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." How you treat yourself is the first step to mastery. This includes what you eat, how you spend your time, and whether you push yourself when you want to give up. Your emotions change when you move your body. Your self-image improves as you get stronger. The more you care about your body, the less you put up with mental weakness. You don't need to be flawless. You need to be disciplined. A powerful guy is built on modest things like working out for a short time, eating clean, and going to bed at the same time every night. Neglecting the body and intellect is a slow way for masculinity to die. But the man who does both, lifts, runs, reads, and thinks, becomes unbreakable. The world can take practically anything from you, but it can't take away the power you've built up inside yourself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "What hurts the hive hurts the bee." The bee is your body, and the hive is your intellect. You can't hurt one without hurting the other. You need to strengthen both to get over loneliness, unhappiness, or weakness. A strong body helps a strong mind, and a strong mind produces a life that can't be broken. Mistake number 5. Living in the past. Regret often makes people feel lonely. Men think about things that went wrong, people they loved and lost, or chances they missed. They hold on to things that can't come back. They construct a prison in their minds out of memories, and then wonder why they feel stuck. Marcus Aurelius told himself, "Don't let the future bother you. If you have to, you will meet it with the same reason you prepare for the present." But he also lived by another reality that wasn't spoken. You can't change the past, just understand it. The Stoics were quite clear about time, and they didn't hold back. They thought the past was as out of control as the weather. It had already happened and had no power until you gave it some. Epictetus said, "What matters is not what happens to you, but how you respond to it." He understood that the true sorrow of individuals arises not from past events, but from their unwillingness to release them. Regret is like a sluggish poison that makes you feel anguish over and over again without getting better. You can't get better by reopening the same wound every day. Seneca said, "What's the point of bringing up past pains to warn people about this mental trap?" He thought that feeling sorry for yourself was a type of torment since it wasted the only thing you really own, the present moment. A man who lives in the past is always thinking about ghosts. Instead of who he can still become, he thinks about who he used to be or what he lost to see how valuable he is. This makes me feel quietly hopeless, like I want something that isn't there anymore. Marcus Aurelius said, "Time is like a river made up of events that happen and a violent stream. As soon as something is seen, it is carried away and another comes in its place. The river doesn't flow backward, and neither should you." Memory was a tool for the Stoics, not a place to live. They thought about things to learn from them, not to be sad. Epictetus told his students to see the past as a teacher, not a judgment. The question isn't, "Why did this happen to me?" It's, "What did this teach me?" It's time to let go of the memory once you've learned the lesson it was meant to teach. You get your energy back for making things, growing, and finding serenity when you quit holding on to the past. You start to recognize that everything, even hardship, was meant to help you. Every time you got your heart broken, it made you stronger. Every mistake made you smarter. Every loss made room for something better to come in. Seneca stated, "Start living right away and think of each day as a new life." The Stoics lived not through their current identity, but through the potential of their future selves. Regret loses its hold on you when you wake up and treat today as your only existence. Someone who lives totally in the present never feels like they're lost in time. He realizes that this instant, right now, is all that is real. You can't hurt the past unless you bring it back. You have to design the future yourself if you want it to save you. But your power has always been in the present, this breath, this thought, this action. So, stop crying over what you've lost. Stop going back to the pain. The Stoics never looked back, they always went forward. Let go of what you know and enter into the life that is still waiting for you. Mistake number 6. Avoiding connection out of fear. Some guys choose to be alone not because they dislike others, but because they are afraid of being turned down. They say things like, better alone, too focused, or not like others, but the truth is that they are scared. The fear of being judged, the fear of not being wanted, the worry about being weak again. Seneca remarked, "We suffer more in our minds than in real life." Most men don't really get rejected. They only tell themselves stories about what might happen if they try. Being alone like this slowly kills your spirit. You tell yourself you're guarding your serenity, but you're really avoiding growth. Marcus Aurelius said, "What hurts the hive hurts the bee." No man is made to live alone. We get power, significance, and a new point of view from other people, not reliance. The Stoics did not perceive solitude as isolation. Rather, they regarded it as a means of preparing to re-enter society with enhanced understanding and compassion. Epictetus frequently reminded his students that anxiety is overcome by exposure rather than evasion. Fear gets weaker every time you speak up, make eye contact, or reach out. Being brave doesn't mean not being afraid. It means doing something even when you're scared. The Stoics learned to deal with discomfort because they believed that the mind only expands when it is pushed beyond its limits. Lonely guys often live in digital bubbles, browsing through endless feeds and thinking that talking to people online is the same as talking to people in person. But pixels don't help the soul expand. It gets bigger when people are together, whether they're laughing, talking, or even disagreeing. You don't need a lot of friends, just a few good ones who remind you that you matter, even when things are loud. Seneca remarked, "You can't enjoy having something valuable unless you have someone to share it with. When no one is around to see your wins, they lose their taste." You don't get real confidence by avoiding rejection. You get it by knowing you can handle it. You get stronger with each no you hear. The next talk will be easier after every awkward one. Every honest effort to connect chips away at the fear that keeps you small. It's important to remember that the walls you've erected around yourself don't just keep other people out, they also keep you in. The Stoics thought that dread comes from being attached to illusory safety. You think that staying away from people keeps you calm, but it's actually making your world smaller. Begin small. Talk to someone you don't know. Take a class. Talk to an old friend. You don't have to push for deep ties. All you have to do is be there. Being present, in life, in conversation, and in work, is a way of saying that fear will not control you. Silence makes loneliness worse. But even modest, quiet acts of bravery can starve it. The world opens up again when you start to let people in. Things that used to appear cold and far away start to feel alive again. The Stoics didn't want to be among people all the time, but they also didn't run away from them. Marcus Aurelius said, "When you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, remember that you were born to work with others." Fear shouldn't stop you from reaching your goal. The world doesn't need a flawless version of you. It needs the real you. So go out, talk, connect, because every time you do, your loneliness gets weaker and your soul gets stronger. Mistake number 7. Believing that loneliness defines you. One of the worst things you can do is think that being alone is a permanent state of being. No, it isn't. It's just a moment, not a life sentence. The fog will clear when you change how you see things. Marcus Aurelius said, "There is no place more peaceful than your own soul." But most men look for serenity in other people, in distractions, and in validation, instead of realizing that it starts with them. When loneliness starts to change how you see yourself, it becomes dangerous. When you declare, "I am lonely," you're not just talking about how you feel, you're saying who you are. And once your brain accepts that name, it starts hunting for proof that it's true. You see quiet as rejection, being alone as punishment, and thinking as empty. The Stoics would say, nevertheless, that being alone isn't bad. It's a chance to learn more about yourself while no one is watching. Epictetus stated, "What bothers people is not the things themselves, but how they think about them." It's not the loneliness that breaks you, it's how you see it. It stings when you think of being alone as being abandoned, but if you think of it as training, it gives you strength. Seneca wrote a lot of letters while he was in exile, away from the rest of the world. His writing is full of tranquility and clarity. He made being alone a source of strength. He added, "The greatest blessings of mankind are inside us and within our reach." This is the most important thing about Stoic wisdom. Outside things don't control your inner state unless you let them. Being alone doesn't mean you're broken. It makes you more aware. It gets rid of noise and falsehoods. It makes you face the pieces of yourself that you've been avoiding. And in that fight, something important happens. You start to rebuild from the truth instead of from what other people think. The Stoics choose to be alone on purpose. They didn't leave to get away from others. They did it to improve their character. In times of upheaval, Marcus Aurelius would often go into his own head and write to himself to remember what was really important. Being alone didn't make him weaker. It made him stronger, so he could come back to the world with more knowledge and peace. You are not a lonely man. You are a man who is getting stronger by being alone. There's a huge difference. One is weak and the other is strong. One waits for help, while the other rises by being motionless. You need to stop thinking of this season as a punishment and start thinking of it as a time to get ready. Being alone gives you a chance to learn more about yourself, like what you want, what you're bad at, and what you're meant to do. The Stoics thought that knowing yourself was the most important part of becoming strong. And solitude is the fire that makes that understanding. You don't feel empty when you come out of it. Instead, you feel focused, grounded, and unshakable. Epictetus told his students, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And you start to master yourself when you stop being afraid of being alone. When you are at peace with yourself, no throng can make you feel lonely, and no absence can make you feel frantic. So don't use loneliness as a shield or a curse. It's not either one. It's the quiet before change, the solid foundation where the best versions of men are made. As the Stoics would say, change how you judge. Don't think of being alone as a void, think of it as a forge. The man who learns to stand alone without fear or anger becomes the man who can never be moved by a storm. Mistake number 8, lacking a mission or purpose. Without a goal, loneliness grows. Your mind becomes your deadliest enemy when you wake up with no plan. Seneca said, "If you don't know where you're going, no wind is good." Every day seems like you're drifting, aimless, empty, and heavy, when you don't have something to hold you down. A man who doesn't have a purpose is at the mercy of his own thoughts, which are affected by boredom and emotion. But a guy with a purpose can handle anything. The Stoics thought that having a purpose was the best way to get rid of despair. They thought that a meaningful existence wasn't about pleasure or comfort, but about duty, doing the task that fits with who you are. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire, wrote himself daily reminders. When you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, tell yourself, "I have to go to work as a human being." He didn't want fame or comfort. He wanted to serve, think clearly, act fairly, and do his job with honor. A lot of lonely men aren't broken. They're just bored. Because their brains have nowhere to go, they retreat inward and devour themselves alive. You weren't made to sit around. You were made to make things, chase things, and win. Without a purpose, even tiny difficulties seem huge. But when you have one, even mountains seem little. Epictetus stated, "To be good, you must first think you are bad." He didn't want to make himself feel bad. He meant that you start to have a purpose when you realize where you need to progress. Your purpose isn't always big or public. It's the fight you have with yourself to get better in every way, physically, psychologically, and ethically. The Stoics called this arete, which means the pursuit of excellence. Not perfection, but progress. Find something that is bigger than you, like a hobby, a cause, a skill, or a discipline that you have to focus on completely. Your energy changes when you focus on something important. The same time you used to waste fretting now helps you grow. The seclusion that previously frightened you transforms into hallowed time for mastery. Seneca told his readers that being lazy makes them unhappy. He stated, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." In today's world, that means spreading your focus by looking for brief dopamine doses, distractions, or validation instead of a goal. But a man with a goal and purpose earns respect without even asking for it. Purpose doesn't need praise. It needs to be the same all the time. It's not about waiting for inspiration. It's about being there every day, even when it's hard and no one is watching. The Stoics taught themselves to follow their principles instead of their feelings. Marcus Aurelius said, "Stop arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That's the goal, to set an example, not make excuses. Loneliness changes when you have a purpose. It turns into fuel, not nothingness. The peaceful times become times when you can really concentrate. The loneliness you used to be afraid of is now the place where you refine your abilities, discipline, and sense of self. You start to want development more than company. It's not that you don't like other people, it's that you've found something deeper than just being with them. A guy who has no purpose seeks pleasure. A man with a goal gives things meaning. The Stoics knew that fulfillment doesn't come from what you get, it comes from what you contribute to your goal. So quit putting off feeling ready. The quest itself will get you ready. Marcus Aurelius remarked, "The thing that stops you from doing something makes you do it. What is in the way becomes the way." Your loneliness, pain, and anger are not problems. They are raw materials. Use them. Make something out of them. Don't let your alone time become a prison. Use it as a workshop. Because a man stops wondering who will save me when he knows what he wants to do and begins to say, "This is what I was meant to do." Mistake number 9, blaming the world instead of evolving. A lot of lonely men fall into the victim trap. They say that their misery is because of women, society, or the situation. They say things like, "I'd be happy if the world were fair," or "People just don't get me." But as Epictetus said, what matters is not what happens to you, but how you respond to it. Misfortune, rejection, and disappointment are not personal attacks. They are tests, reflections, and chances. Being a Stoic means taking responsibility for yourself. You don't owe the world anything. It doesn't exist to make you feel better, validate you, or get your attention. It gives you neutrality, which means events, people, and outcomes that don't care about you. It's up to you to turn them into something useful. Marcus Aurelius said to himself, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. There is no such thing as a good or terrible setback. It only becomes what you choose to make it." Putting the blame on others is a sign of giving up. Every second you spend pointing fingers is a second you lose control. A man who blames others can't progress because he won't go inside himself and ask, "What can I do? What can I do to get better? How can I grow?" The Stoics understood that accountability is what makes us evolve. Seneca said, "It's not that we don't have a lot of time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." If you waste it on blame, nothing will change in your life. When you stop blaming others, something amazing happens. Your energy changes. Pain and anger don't stop you anymore. They drive you. Rejection is no longer a verdict, it's a lesson. Failure is no longer anything to be ashamed of, it's information. The world isn't against you, it's your gym, your school, and your arena. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your character, skills, and resilience. Lonely guys often think that what happens to them is fate. They declare, "I got a bad hand," and then they wait for things to get better. But the Stoics knew that luck doesn't care. A man is not defined by the hand he is dealt, but by how he plays it. Epictetus remarked, "No man is free who is not in charge of himself." When you stop blaming others and start doing things, you become a master. Every little step counts. Stop whining about how other people don't care. Don't hold a grudge against people who don't like you. Begin to develop discipline. Get started learning. Start making things. Begin to grow. Every effort adds up. Every action gives something back. The world doesn't punish you for being responsible. Instead, it rewards you with talent, strength, and self-respect. "Stop arguing about what a good man should be," said Marcus Aurelius. "Be one. You don't need the world to prove that you exist. Your presence becomes strong the moment you take charge of it." It's easy to blame someone else. The Stoic way is to take action. One leads to anger and the other to skill. When you stop feeling sorry for yourself and start taking responsibility, your loneliness goes away. You stop hoping that someone else would save you because you are now in charge of your own life. Yes, the universe is neutral, but your mind isn't. It's the thing that can move mountains. Get up. Make it better. Change. The world isn't against you, it's waiting for you to rise. And when you do, nothing outside of you, no failure, no rejection, no criticism, can touch the power you've built up inside yourself. Mistake number 10. Fearing solitude instead of mastering it. The last and worst mistake is being afraid of being alone. A lot of guys think that being alone is bad, a sign that they have failed, or proof that the world has forgotten about them. But the Stoics had a different view. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, the latter of whom lived as a slave but controlled his own thoughts, understood that solitude is not a punishment, it is a purification, a crucible, in which strength, clarity, and wisdom are produced. You face your genuine self when you're alone, just you. No distractions, no masks, and no echoes of what other people think. This is where the soul is put to the test, where flaws are revealed, and where the intellect learns to be disciplined. Marcus Aurelius said, "People look for places to get away from it all, like the country, the sea, or the hills, but you can get away from it all at any time." You don't need big gestures or faraway places to be alone. Solitude is a choice you make in your mind, and you can find it at any time. When you accept being alone instead of being afraid of it, your point of view changes. You learn how to be patient, strong, and independent. Seneca said, "The poor man is not the one who has too little, but the one who wants more." Mastering oneself is the key to true prosperity, and solitude is where that mastery is formed. The Stoics thought that mental training was the most important thing because this lets you think, plan, and understand. Take time alone to think, make things, and grow. Study philosophy. Write down your thoughts. Think about what you do and what you believe in. Work out your body and mind as hard as a soldier gets ready for battle. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You need to be in charge of your own organization to become a master. You don't need anyone else's approval, attention, or distraction to feel like you exist when you can stand alone without fear. A man who is good at being alone doesn't try to get attention. He gets it by being there. He doesn't show off his confidence. It's consistent. His energy doesn't come and go, it stays. People are drawn to him, not because he wants them to be, but because he has worked on himself. Being alone is a teacher that wants you to be honest. It takes away excuses, comforts, and false hopes. It shows you what you're avoiding, what you're putting up with, and what you may become. Marcus Aurelius was always dealing with political intrigue and pressure, but he often retired inside himself, writing, thinking, and sharpening his judgment. That inner strength grew unbreakable because he was okay being alone. So don't run away from being alone. Don't be afraid of the stillness. The greatest men in history, including philosophers, fighters, and thinkers, all learnt to be whole by themselves. When you choose to be alone, it's not loneliness, it's power. And here's the key. The person who knows how to be alone also knows how to connect with others. When you don't require other people to make you whole, every relationship becomes purposeful. Every encounter becomes significant, and every bond is based on respect, not need. Your solitude is your forge. Your mind, body, and spirit are the steel. Being alone is like a hammer hitting you, sculpting you, and making you better. If you accept it, you will become a man who can't be broken, who is strong, independent, and very alive. Being alone isn't a death sentence. It's a wake-up call. Your mind is alerting you that something inside needs to be fixed. These 10 faults aren't just something that men do. They're routines that keep them weak. The Stoics, on the other hand, taught us how to turn loneliness into strength, misery into perspective, and being alone into power. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of an empire, but every night he wrote himself notes to encourage him to be humble and peaceful. Epictetus had little, but he knew all that was important. Seneca lost a lot, yet he never lost his tranquility. You can go down that same road. Fix these mistakes, and your loneliness won't eat you up. Instead, it will make you better. Because the man who learns to be strong in silence will never be alone again.